Welcome back to the channel, and I guess welcome to something new, or not. Well, it's new, but I don't know if it's gonna be something that's gonna be consistent, or even if it's this and that. It was really not gonna be something consistent. It's just something that's in a way long overdue. I think somebody that was subscribed or subscribed to me because they wanted this type of video or type of this or type of that some years back, or would it be like a year or two? It's been a little minute now, where somebody commented like, why don't you do a video where you talk about why did your picks go wrong this day, or why did certain picks, or why this or why that, like, 'cause a lot of people just showcase their good picks and kind of like, oh, I'm so good and so this and so that, instead of talking about their bad picks and why this and why that. But yeah. And there was this other guy acting a little bit crazy recently. Well, he wasn't crazy, but I would say he was not crazy, but pressed about the Malcolm Gordon versus Francisco Figueiredo fight, which was, for the most part, not much to really draw from that fight. And why would I do that for one individual fight that wasn't spectacular for either man? Didn't really say much for either man. Good win for Malcolm Gordon to get in the win column in the UFC, which is great for him and all, but it was a close fight that could have went either way, and I really feel like it really could have leaned to Figueiredo, but it is what it is. So it wasn't really a whole lot to talk about in that fight. And that was also on the card. Probably only had 2 losses, so like 9-2 or 10-2 or something like that. So one fight, and while I'm on focus on a fight that there's really much to draw for. Like, if I made a video been like 5 seconds, like, Malcolm Gordon did a good job of pressing. Yeah, but I'm not talking. I'm way off topic right now. But the title of this video, if this does become a series, is where I went wrong. Or yeah, so it's me like where I went wrong if I do make a series, which I'm probably not, but it's just experimental. You are creating experiment. So this is where I went wrong for UFC Fight Night, Hall versus Strickland. 2 minutes to the video, we're finally getting to the subject matter, but we're gonna be in and out quick, just like I do everything else for the most part. But yeah, you know how I roll. If you subscribed or tune in often. But so for the Philip Rowe versus Orion Cost, I should have learned from the last Cost fight, or his brother, his twin brother, fraternal brother, should have learned from that fight. And Cost, he was doing pretty good work in the first round, but they have issues. Like, they have their own little flaws. Their striking really isn't the cleanest, but they're aggressive with it, grappling pretty solid, good top pressure. But I'm gonna see issues with length. I'm gonna see issues when they go against higher, more technical strikers. I probably will pick them if they're going against guys that don't really have punching power, maybe on the smaller side, around their size or something. But they have like a grappling deficiency, would be a big one, like a huge grappling deficiency, not just a small grappling, like a huge, like they have terrible submission defense, terrible wrestling defense, or something like that. I'll pick them. Or they go against a guy that, like, maybe he's like in the middle type fighter, but don't really have the most striking power or most striking hands or anything, and they don't have a huge reach advantage like Philip Rowe had. But for the most part in that one, don't feel all too bad about that pick. Like, he was following the game plan, or at least what I was predicting for the first round. But again, then once Philip Rowe started letting his hands go, for Philip Rowe, he did impress me a lot. But if I see him go against a solid, more proven veteran with some wrestling or better striking, I'm definitely gonna pick them. But if he goes against one of the guys that kind of like on the borderline, I definitely would look to pick Philip Rowe. And I'm definitely interested to see him grow some more. But for both Costs, I'm definitely disappointed in both of them. I definitely think I got a little bit too high off their Contender Series performances. So, and that one's definitely a lot to learn from that. Gonna be looking forward where to lean in that one, but not the greatest intel as far as like, oh, I learned so much from this fight, but just more so gave me a little bit. Check out Roll a little bit more, put a little bit more in stake in him, or put a little bit more interest in him. And for Cost, like, they definitely got to take a step back. But both for the Cost brothers. And now for the Adeshev versus Benoit fight, this is a fight that I feel like there's some pretty good intel, and I should have known. But Ryan Benoit is not a great offensive wrestler, not a great defensive wrestler. In actuality, a lot of his losses have come from grapplers and people taking him down. Not really submitting him or anything, but taking him down and being able to control him and eke out decisions over him. That's been a lot of his losses. And offensively, I think he only scored like 1 takedown, if even that, in his UFC career, so, or 2 or something. So he's not a consistent takedown artist. He's not a great takedown artist, not a great offensive wrestler. So when you look at him, if you're going against a guy that has decent, well, he's not even the greatest takedown artist. He don't have no great takedown ability. So in a fight with him, if a guy's a better, more technical striker than him, pick them in that fight unless they got like a glass chin. Pick them in that fight. So I should have been able to know that one with Adeshev. Alshev is 3-3, so you got to kind of be a little bit iffy about him. But he does have a striking background, so he does fall into the category where he is the more technical striker, or at least on paper, the more technical striker versus Ryan Benoit. And Benoit's offensive grappling, offensive wrestling isn't the greatest, so that one wasn't like a case of I didn't see that coming, or you couldn't see it coming. If I looked deeper into that fight and not just kind of graze over it like I did, it was foreseeable. So that's definitely something preventable in the future. Like in general, I just gotta be a little bit less sloppy with that and look a little bit deeper, and it would have been right there for me to see. So I feel like the Rowe fight was there for me to see potentially. I mean, it wasn't all that bad, but it still was foreseeable. Definitely foreseeable, especially when you got literally a brother that happened the same thing happened to him. So it was foreseeable, more than foreseeable. The Alshev fight was more than foreseeable. Jinyu Frey versus Ashley Yoder. With this one, again, Frey didn't look all that impressive, but her takedown defense looked much improved. And in her last fight, she did work on her wrestling, was her path to victory. So, and even going on paper, I already knew she was the more technical striker than Yoder. And like I said, it wasn't that no big gap. It was like a 30-27 a lot of scorecards, but Yoder actually landed more than her. But Yoder landed flush. I mean, Frey landed harder, landed flusher, landed cleaner. That's the thing. But Yoder outlanded her. But again, 0-8 for like takedown offense from Yoder, and 8-0 on takedown stopping from Jinyu Frey. But Yoder, I might look at this one, and you see a woman that's more clean striker than her, and like either they have solid takedown defense or have been working on that takedown defense, or just working on wrestling, lean to the other woman. That's gonna be something foreseeable in the future, and it should have been foreseeable here. But it's like I said, I don't feel too bad about that one. But yeah, as far as that one, gotta look to that more. If I pick Yoder against somebody, I'm gonna pick her against somebody that's another pillow punching grappler that may be on the smaller side or on the inexperienced side, or maybe a striker who has poor takedown defense and grappling awareness, and then I'll pick Yoder. So really, I'm gonna pick her against maybe entry level opponents who really either getting put in the UFC too early or should not be in the UFC. That's why I'll pick Yoder over them. But as far as people that have actually been in UFC, got like more than like 5 wins or more than 5 fights, and actually has some solid skills set to, like I said, solid, decent enough takedown defense and decent enough striking, I'll pick them over Yoder in future fights. And Chavez Kamaka, draw, not really much to draw from that. Kai Kamaka did look much better. I think they fight again. I pick Kai Kamaka over Chavez, but that was a draw, so not gonna look too much in that one, but I would lean to Kai Kamaka in that one. But still like a very tight matchup, but gonna lean to Kai Kamaka. The boxing was much cleaner in that fight, and that really was the tone for that. Chavez actually went around with his wrestling and grappling, so but we'll lean to Kai Kamaka in they fight again. So that's my take for that one. Grudesmaka versus Garcia. Well, Grudesmaka versus Garcia, I think I just took too much. I just really wasn't real high on Grudesmaka, so I just leaned heavily to Garcia in that one, but not really looking to Garcia that his striking wasn't all the cleanest either. He's tough, he's gritty, he's game, but he's not the cleanest striker. Some pretty decent wrestling on the side, but again, this not the most fleshed out fighter or the most skilled or talented fighter, but they both put on a good work. But I feel like Garcia still got some ceiling to him. I feel like Grudesmaka probably can get a couple more little wins, sneak a little wins in there, but I feel like for the most part he's who he is, and when he starts going up to the higher upper echelon, or the people rising to get to the higher level, they're going to walk right over him every single time. But I feel like this part, Garcia's this guy that needs a good bit more developing. So that's my take for that fight. Jason Witt versus Brian Barberena. It was a loss for Brian Barberena, but he really lost it. It wasn't like it was a robbery or anything. He definitely won the third round. They should have made that like a 10-8 or made it like actually counted the drops as far as on fight metric. He dropped what's his name, Witt, like 2 or 3 times in that third round, but they ain't count none of them. Like, would he slip? Are they calling those takedowns? No. Or takedown attempts or failed takedowns? No, that man was getting his chin mopped. It was falling onto his hand. Like, he was just falling face first and catching himself with his hands. Just before his face smacked against the ground, that man was getting dropped. Those are knockdowns. But sometimes they be picky about what they want to call a knockdown or not, but those were knockdowns. By the way, he dropped Brian Barberena in the second round. In first round, was able to control him a lot. But there was some, I would pick Brian. What I'm saying is, when I feel like this is stuff to learn from this fight, but prior knowledge to this fight, I would pick Brian Barberena. Even they said, oh, it was this or that, I would pick Brian Barberena 100 times out of 100 in this one. Jason Witt not the greatest, not no super phenomenal standout wrestler as far as MMA wise, not no super phenomenal striker. He's just like pretty much an average fighter for as far as UFC caliber average. Maybe not outside of UFC average, but as far as the UFC average fighter. And I don't really see no high ceiling for him or see him doing anything super phenomenal or at all in the UFC. I see him probably fighting another loss after this one, depending on how they match him, and then being outside the UFC pretty soon after. But as far as Bryan Barberena goes, with him, it should have been a known factor that Bryan Barberena, though he's getting more power in his strikes now, he's still not a knockout artist. He's still got us most likely going to go to decision with his victory. So can't really rely too heavily on him to knock anyone out, to be honest. Even though Jason Witt has been knocked out 2 times in the first round in the UFC. So, but those guys actually were more on the power side than Barberena, who's more of a volume puncher. But another thing for Bryan Barberena, when he goes against a good solid grappler or wrestler, I'm definitely gonna be looking twice, like probably leaning to those people because of how he handled himself here. But nothing about Bryan Barberena. Like there's a lot of stuff about Bryan Barberena. This one's more about Bryan Barberena than Jason Witt, to be honest. But someone else had to give me some little intel, but I had already made my picks that Bryan Barberena has, been nursing some injuries and been training more at a limited extent. So that's to be factored. Like, he's been training, but not fully training, and not sparring, not doing this, or doing it at a very limited amount. So that's things to factor in that maybe could potentially. But even all that said, I would still lean to Bryan Barberena prior to the fight 100 times out of 100. Like I just feel like it was a lock, but it's not like there were factors that would say why that couldn't have led me to Jason Witt or led people to Jason Witt. So Jason Witt already had a little past victory, and that training or lack of training due to injuries or limited training due to injuries or nursing was a big factor. But again, I would pick Bryan Barberena. I don't really feel bad about picking him and being confident on him in that one. Or probably any decent fighter that really fights Jason Witt, I'm gonna probably be real confident on them to beat him. They get some good takedown defense or good wrestling, whatever they. Matter of fact, just some solid takedown defense, some good striking. I'll probably pick some solid fighter to knock out Jason Witt, depending on how they match him up. I don't think it's too hard to find somebody I feel will beat Jason Witt and will feel confident in them beating Jason Witt. Then that's pretty much all of them. So I said the Rowe, that's 1, the Adeshev, that's 2, the Yoder, that's 3, the Garcia, that's 4, the Bryan Barberena, 5, and that's pretty much everything else was on point. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, other fights pretty much played out. The Melsick Baghdasaryan fight actually got a stoppage instead of a decision, and that striking gap looked just as much as big as I thought it would look, if not bigger, because he got the stoppage. But outside the stoppage, looked as big as I thought it would, and the stoppage only made it look even bigger. The Stolze versus Gooden fight, didn't think it was be a stoppage, but again, the striking looked like it was on a different, definitely the power. I feel like Gooden added a little bit more power, a little bit more fluidity to a strike. Probably went back and patched some things up. And again, I wasn't on high on Stolze, and that fight further proved why I wasn't super high on Stolze in that one. Even more in the little short wrestling exchanges, short striking exchanges, Gooden looked a much cleaner fighter. Stolze looked like he was trying to force a lot of stuff. And again, Gooden might be stiff, but he's a more composed striker, and that showed. Chan Bai versus Gloria DePaula, I thought it would be a little bit more wrestling and more decision victory. Again, like you see the theme, I was thinking these would be decision fights, but Chan Bai just straight ran through Gloria DePaula. But again, you got with this fight, it's 2 young, fresher faces in the league, and you haven't really seen them fight too much, so you don't know where the gap and where their skill lies. And also, they're improving a lot as these young developing fighters. So I picked Chan Bai. I'm saying these are the fights I won and all right here, but this is probably where I went wrong. But I'm just really just going over everything right now at this point. But again, Baez looked clean, looked good, and was able to get ran through her. The Hall versus Strickland fight looked pretty much just how I pictured it, except without a stoppage. Uriah Hall was just startled by the volume and just allowing Strickland just to walk him down, pepper him up with jabs, and really ain't had much of an answer to it, no type of answer. He had a little, matter of fact, he didn't have no moments. He had landed some good clean shots here and there, but for the most part, had no answer for the jab and the forward pressure. And Strickland do all the same stuff he usually throws, and Uriah Hall really didn't have no answer for it. It wasn't really active with the kicks like he should have been. Wasn't active with this. It wasn't clean on the counters. Wasn't setting up the will, and they weren't landing them. And Strickland was just free to just walk him down and stick a jab in his face and fire straight behind it occasionally, fire 2 behind it on occasions, and that was all she wrote. And Uriah Hall, one credit to him is he held up, but again, it's not like Strickland's throwing these heavy shots. In the lead up, I say he just an arm puncher. He He'll stay in your face and throw a lot of arm punches and gets away with it because he's not fighting. You know, the cleanest and most technical striker. Uriah Hall might be on paper. I mean, he is a technical striker, but let me not get into that. But he's not fighting a guy that's going. He has mistakes and flaws that people should make him pay for, but they aren't making him pay for. And I feel like if he go against like Adesanya more than gonna make him pay for it. And probably one of his easiest fights, to be honest. If he does make it there, he's on a good streak, and the division is open, so I could definitely see him getting a title shot after Whitaker. But yeah, as far as this card, I feel like a lot to learn from it, and a lot of stuff that was out there. Like the Filler Row fight, the Filler Row Cost fight was out there. Like it was before I should have known better. The Adesanya, I feel like that was a big glaring one. I seen Benoit fight so many times and knew so much about him, but I made that mistake just to lean to him, lean to him on factors that he's weak in. Like that was a big easy one. Matter of fact, that should have been a easy money pick for me to lean to Adesanya, really, to be honest. Especially looking back at it, hindsight 2020, knowing all I know, it should have been an easy money pick. Yoda versus Frey, kind of little. You really can't trust Yoda. Like even in fights, I feel like she did win. Like she kind of stepped and did what she was supposed to do. Again, she can't go out there and really come through too much. So she learned from that one. And Frey looks pretty good, but still with both of them, it's like women that both probably gonna lose their next fights for the most part. If they step up, they move laterally, they might be able to get some wins, but they move up, they definitely losing, regardless of who they really fight in. Once they fight those upper level competition again, they're gonna lose again. Rafa Garcia and Grudenmacher. Garcia felt like got a little bit more potential. Grudenmacher got a win, but still seemed the same exact spot. With Barberina, again, same stuff. But that's my take for where I went wrong with this event. A lot to learn from it. A lot that was overlooked that should have been more clear. But again, when you do your due diligence, which I didn't do fully with some of these fights, those things won't happen as much, or you'll be better prepared for them or whatnot. But take it one card at a time, one fight at a time, and we'll be back better for the next card. And that's the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and come back for more videos. And as always, thanks for watching.